Yo, welcome back to another episode here on the Crash Out League TV. We are heading into the final week of the regular season, folks. That means things are getting dire. Playoff spots are filling up. The playoff hunt is still on. It's a lot that's going on all the way to the finish line. Manny, turn it up a notch. What's going on?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, we hope that you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving week and a better Thanksgiving day, enjoying some time with your family. We had some great football games, but the football even getting better here in the Crash Out League. So, we take a look first at the bounty board because we did have a change of hands, but we will see if this new bounty continues or if somebody else is being put up on the bounty board. A-Dub.
Ladies and gentlemen, we knew last week Smooth Criminal with Coach A Dub had the bounty for the previous 2 weeks in this league. But like any other week, a new competitor comes in, a new coach comes in, and they take their shot. The coach for this week was Coach Dano with the Prodigal Sons. Now, the Prodigal Sons was in a must-win situation. They're fighting for a playoff spot, and they also, all and be all want to collect this bounty at the end of the day. The question is, was they able to accomplish it? So two things can happen to everybody, and we all know it. Say it with me now. You shoot them and take them down, or you shoot yourself in the foot and look like a clown. Which one of the two did Coach Dono make it happen? He took his shot, and he indeed hit his target and took down Smooth Criminal. And Smooth Criminal no longer holds on to the bounty here in the Crash Out League. We thought he was going to make it all the way to the end of the regular season and finish off with the bounty on himself, but he just couldn't get it done. Manny, what's your thoughts?
Man, this one, it is going to be something that we'll actually look at later on. But I think it's huge for playoff implications, A-Dub. You know what I mean? I mean, this is right now one of the teams that's fighting, but he's not able to hold on to that bounty. I know he wanted to at least tie the Jamaica Workers and Coach Fabian, a.k.a. Team Fabo. Just couldn't do it, man. So, A-Dub, who now has the new bounty? Who takes hold of that new crown?
It's just like Manny said, the bounty has to be passed on. Now, just to reiterate, the bounty does not go to the person who beat and collected the bounty of the previous owner. It goes to whoever the commission feels like has been doing their thing in the league, wins versus losses. How big was the win? How bad was the loss? What you been doing in waiver wire? What you been doing in trades? How you have your movements been affecting what's going down in this league? Now, based off that and the fact that this season, since it's brand new, the commission does not like to pick previous bounty holders if he can help himself not to do so. Manny, who's on your mind for who's getting the bounty this week?
Man, there's a few. Obviously, we talked about most City Menace has had it. The CBDL has had it. Jamaica Workers have had it. A lot of really good teams have been able to hold on to it. But to me, I don't know. I think there's one guy who's making this push, and either he's going to make it or he's going to go down. And for me, that's got to be Coach Mike and GBK. I don't know, A-Dub. Who are you thinking gets this bounty board from the commish?
I will say I did hear from the commission. Coach Mike and Team GBK was very close in getting this bounty. But nonetheless, this bounty will be going to Coach Cam and Team C minus. Now, folks, this is the reason why Coach Cam was chose. Like I said, it was very close. Coach Mike put up a big number that we're going to show you guys just here in a minute last week to continue to fight his way into the playoffs. But Coach Cam all season long has been consistent when getting wins and also making major moves in the waiver wire and in trades. Just at the trade deadline, Coach Cam made a huge gambling move by trading away Bijan Robinson for Trey McBride, the number one tight end in the league right now. That just gave Coach Cam that boost to get this bounty this week because the moves that he's making is a playoff winning move. So the commission had to give Coach Cam his flowers and give him this bounty for this week, for this last week.
Yeah, absolutely, A-Dub. So we go ahead and we move on to our fantasy recap so we can get to recap the last week before the playoffs, or the last week until we get to this final week. But nonetheless, we will take a look at the fantasy recap of obviously the scores in the Crash Out League. So you take a look there as that pops up. First one that we got all the way at the top, Smooth Criminal falling to the Prodigal Sons. Jamaica Workers not able to pick up a win against Team CDL. And that plan starting to kind of fade away a little bit from what could be Coach Preach's ultimate plan. But nonetheless, speaking about Coach Preach, he's able to pick up a win against the Gridiron Cartel. C-minus draft beats Money Manny. And then we've had a lot of different names for him, but ultimately Team Luck and Coach Lucky not able to take down GBK and Coach Mike A-Dub. And of course, we look at our game of the week, and that was the Jamaica Workers versus Team CDL. And this one was somewhat close, but realistically, Team CDL coming out with a pretty comfortable win, 98. A-Dub, what do you see in this one?
Yeah, it was pretty much of a real sleeper game, and I mean by not saying that it was an underdog game. I mean like it was a real sleeper game. It was real boring. Both of these teams are highly put on a pedestal to put up major points here in this league, and to see one side barely get over 100 and the other side not even getting 100, this was very much anticlimactic for being game of the week. The battle
Yeah,
for the number one
yeah,
spot, the bye week, Manny. The battle for the bye week, and this is how they both showed up. It's unacceptable. You can't. Jamel Gibbs, who's been blasting off all season long, struggled against the Green Bay Packers. Then you go downhill, Puka Nakua not showing up for you. Then you go down and you got Ibuka, who's been shining for you all season. Like your three-headed dragon's just not doing their job. To me, it just bit you to get this win.
yeah, definitely. It really did come back and kind of bite him. And then we look at our upset of the week, and that was predicted to be Mo City Menace against Gridiron Cartel, just simply for the fact that, man, it was obviously one of the top teams that's already find themselves secure versus a team who's still fighting to get into the playoffs. Gridiron Cartel versus Mo City Menace, but Mo City Menace proving just to be a little too much. Also, AW, you could say this one a bit of a sleeper game as well.
Yeah, another slumpy game. It's a pretty much tell for Gridiron Cartel, so it's not really unexpected for that side of the ball. Because once again, they dealing with injuries all season. They just plugging and playing with players that they could plug and play with. But with most of the minutes, yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. But at the end of the day, he was able to get your win and get your dub, and hopefully getting Drake May back this week, who was out and projected to come back this week, is able to put you back on top with averaging at 120, 130.
Yeah, I mean, hey, right? Look, a win's a win at the end of the day. So, I mean, that's all that most City Menace cares about. They continue to roll. They're having a great season at this point. Now we look at our crash outs of the week, and I did say crash outs. Yes, A-Dub, we have multiple crash outs. Some who have never made it to this list before, and some
Never?
who, well, let's just say call this list home. Call this list. They're very familiar with it. But we start off with one of the teams we just talked about, Gridiron Cartel, with 92 points. This guy's just not showing up. But like you said, it does. Sometimes it's more just, hey, you know where you've been at, and also the circumstances of there's a lot of injuries that he's been dealing with, but he's been able to kind of make do with what he has. So he goes on to the crash out of the week list with 92.40. The next one, Team Luck and Coach Lucky, he has 92.64, and that gets him on the crash out of the week list. He as well might be looking towards next season already. For the first time this season, Money Manny finds himself on this list.
Oh,
And A-Dub, this was just a really bad week for him, and this was one of the worst weeks to have it. And we'll explain that later on. But I mean, you see there the biggest one, the biggest kind of drop of that was just the fact that St. Brown goes down, Zay Flowers finishes with under a point, and Parker Washington, who he had traded for, also goes down early in the game. I mean, this was just kind of the
that's
worst
too
time for this little injury bug to hit this team as they were looking to make it to the playoffs.
And I believe our last crash out here in this league was the Jamaica Workers just getting under 100 points here in this league, putting up 98.54 points. Wasn't his best showing. I mean, like we said earlier, his three-headed dragon just didn't show up. Also, we should say maybe his four-headed dragon just didn't show up this week, and we'll see if he bounced back after becoming one of the crash outs of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. So we go ahead and look at our power rankings as we head into the final week before the playoffs. CDL sitting right at the top. He is still good to go. Jamaica Workers right under him. C- draft at third. Most City Menace at fourth. Smooth Criminal fifth. The Prodigal Sons at sixth. Money Manny dropping one down to seventh. GBK at eight. Gridiron Cartel at nine. And then finally, to round us off, it is Team Luck at the bottom at 10.
Yeah, yeah. So with Team CDL again to win all the Jamaica Workers, it kind of cements themselves to being the number one team and getting the bye weekend in this league. Even if Jamaica Workers win next week, they'll have to overcome 20 points plus however much points Team CDL put up this week in order to take that number one spot, which is a little unlikely. It's a chance there, but it's a little unlikely there. Now, for everybody else, it's based off where you want to be at. Here, you playing Russian roulette. Where do you want to fall? Who do you want to play going into round one? Because nobody else has a chance to get that bye week. Everybody else is just thinking, who do I want to play in the first round? So take that into account when you're going into this week, when you talk about wins and losses and trying to fight your way into the playoffs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And AW, you talk about the playoffs. Why don't we go ahead and look at what this bracket looks like right now? Let's look at the playoff picture. We'll see if anybody has gone home. We'll see if anybody else is confirmed to head to the big dance just 1 week away.
All right, I already know what it is. This is the Crash Out League playoff hunt. The teams that already clinched their spots was Team CDL, Team Fabo with Jamaica Workers, Most City Menace, Team C minus, and a Smooth Criminal. Now, unfortunately, this still stands. Nobody else has clinched their spots into the playoffs. So still meaning, just like last week, Manny, 7 is still open. Six, 7 is
6 and 7
still
still open.
open.
6-7.
Still
6-7.
open. So we go off to see who's still chasing those last two spots here in this league. You got 2 inches too big, who is still in a hunt and currently at the number 7 spot because of the points. Let's see if they can get it done this week. Then we got Gridiron Cartel, who is sitting right there at the 9 spot, who's one game away and a couple points. Let's see if he get a miracle going into this week. Then we got the Prodigal Sons, who is kind of calmly sitting at the 6 at the 7 at the 6 spot, and having major points, so likely to make the playoffs. Then we have Team GBK, who's right at that A spot, who's tied record with 2 inches too big, but just below in points, and trying to see if he can get a miracle going into this week. Now, as you can see, we didn't name everybody. Manny, that
We
means
didn't.
somebody's to Cancun. And that organization is Team Luck with Coach Lucky, the first team eliminated from the 2025 Crash Out League playoffs. Coach, we appreciate your time here in this league. We know you're a competitor, and we know that seeing these results is not what you are shooting for when you start the season. But nonetheless, you had a hell of a season. You fought hard. You didn't quit, and you get to come back next season and do it again if you choose to do so. Nonetheless, we appreciate your time here in this league, man. Enjoy your time in Cancun. Kick your feet up, relax, and watch how the rest of this play out.
So after that, hey, Dub, let's go ahead and rewind all the way back, and let's take a look now at what this last week before the playoffs looks like. Again, for those of y'all who don't remember, last week was the first of 2 weeks that Coach Preach was able to switch around the schedule and try to find maybe if he could influence what this playoff picture is going to look like, especially the seeding and especially who can make it in and out of the playoffs. So we go down for some of these matchups. Smooth Criminal taking on GBK, Jamaica Workers taking on Money Manny, C-minus Draft taking on the Gridiron Cartel, Mo City Menace taking on Coach Lucky, and then the Prodigal Sons taking on Team CDL. And that one is certainly very close. Hey, Dub, who do you have for your game of the week?
Man, it's only one way to go with this. It's only one way to go with this. We talk about somebody who's in a playoff spot right now. Both organizations in a playoff spot right now. One is fighting to get the number one spot. The other one is fighting just to get into the playoffs and stay there. So it gotta be the Jamaica Workers versus Money Manning. The Jamaica Workers, they lost last week, but they hoping that they can bounce back, get a win, and Team CDL loses this week so they can compete for that bye week that they slowly but surely have been climbing the charts for. But on the other side, Team Money Manning, Coach Manning, sitting right there at that seventh spot, tied with Team GBK, and two ways for them to get into the playoffs. They just straight up get a win, and that for sure secures their spot in the playoffs. Or if they lose, they gotta hope that Team GBK loses as well and they outscore 'em. That's the only two ways for Team Money Manning to not move from that seventh spot. But I believe the type of Coach Manny is, he don't want to leave it up to chance. So he gonna try to go out there and get this win and try to do everything he can to put up the most points he can this week. So look out for this game to be game of the week.
Yeah, this one's going to be a good one. Again, like you talked about, hey, win and you're in. That's just the way that this boils down to, really. You talk about the point situation at Dub. Here's the other interesting point. Right now, as it sits, GBK has 1,439 points for. Money Manny has 1,656 points for. Almost, well, that's over 200-point difference. So this could very well come down to score, but if GBK picks up a win, he just knocks them straight out. So this is going to be a very, very interesting game. Now, for our upset alert, as we look at the rest of the schedule after picking the Jamaica Workers and Money Manny as our game of the week, there's a few. There's a few that are still here and still going. And you know what, A-Dub, for me, I'm going to have to go with the guy who's still fighting for a shot and hoping he can get a little lucky and maybe sneak his way into the playoffs. And that's the Gridiron Cartel versus C-minus Draft. First off, he's got to get a win. That's plain and simple. He's got to get a win, and that starts here. But he's also going to be looking for the possibility at getting a few people to drop their last games, and he's going to try to leapfrog 2 spots to get into the playoffs. So for this one, I like it to be our upset of the week, or upset alert, as possibly Coach Deshaun and the Gridiron Cartel might get themselves right in to the playoffs.
I like that pick. I like that pick. Gotta go ahead and root for the little guy.
So we now go to our favorite segment, the segment that you love, the one that we love, and that starts off with our NFL games of the week. These are all games that you're going to want to tune into, and special surprise, it's not just 3, it's 4. So tune in, because we got 4 games for you this week that you're going to want to take a look at, that not only hold massive fantasy implications, but they're just going to be really good football that you're going to want to tune into. First one, that happens Thursday night. That's 7:15 prime time on Prime. And it's the Cowboys versus the Lions. This one is one that the Cowboys need to win if they want to continue their playoff push and get themselves into that kind of last maybe seed. But there's also a chance for them to win the NFC East, especially with the Eagles looking like they might be slowing down just a little bit. So there is certainly massive implications here. The Colts taking on the Jaguars. That's Sunday at 12. The Colts with Daniel Jones. He did have a fractured femur, is the report that I am hearing. But he was able to still cash in with 17, 16 points last week. He's going to try to continue to keep this kind of consistency against a very tough Jaguars defense. Then you have the Bengals versus the Bills. The Bengals seem like a night and day team. Once Joe Shiesty came back into this game, he is the one that makes this team go. And that is certainly the case. And the Bills, they're not what they typically have in their position. They are not at the top of their division. It's the Patriots. They got to find themselves into the playoffs. It's not guaranteed for them. So this is going to be a big game, especially with the Bengals still trying to show, hey, we've got a lot of fight in us. And then finally, it'll be the Bears versus the Packers. That'll be Sunday at 3:25. This is an NFC North matchup. The Bears right now, surprise, surprise, at the top of the NFC. If the regular season ended right now, folks, I know up is down and down is up when you hear this sentence, but the Bears would have the first round bye in the playoffs, with the Packers trying to play spoiler to that. 3:25 on Sundays. Rewind the ting all the way back as the Cowboys take on the Lions Thursday, 7:15. Y'all know. Y'all already know. It's Dak Prescott. It's CeeDee Lamb. It's George Pickens. But don't forget about that defense. That's been the problem with the Cowboys all year long. You just need the defense to be solid. With Quentin Williams out there, he has certainly shored up this entire defense. And they are playing with a lot of confidence right now. Again, you know how this is going to go. Give me the Dallas Cowboys to pick up the win on prime time Thursday night.
You know what? I'm not even mad at that pick right there. I'm going to go ahead and hop on that train and also say that the Dallas Cowboys will get this win this Thursday. Just because, yes, it's a must win for both sides. Lions are at the 8 spot. Cowboys are at the 9 spot, looking out, trying to get into the playoff spot in the playoff run. But there's rumors St. Brown might not be back with enough time this week. So without St. Brown and with the Cowboys defense starting to look better and better, and they steady getting players back. Speaking on a player coming back, Trayvon Diggs was active last week in the practice. His 21-day period was turned on last week. So who's to say they might not say, hey, hop out there on Thursday and let's see what it looked like. And we all know at his best, he's one of the best ball hogs, corners in the league. So with that being added to the defense and St. Brown going out and no Sam Laporta, it's hard to go against it. So give me the Cowboys.
Hey, Dub, real quick, man, I just want to say I appreciate you. You know what I mean? Thanks for being really respectful of the Cowboys. You know what I mean? And like, kind of like letting me have that moment. You know, I promise I'll return the favor. I like a pinky promise, like really, really. So here we go. Colts versus Jaguars. Cool. Colts versus Jags. This is gonna be Sunday, 12 o'clock. For me, A Dub, I just think the Colts might have a little bit too much. That's gonna kind of overpower this Jags defense. But I don't think that's what it boils down to. I think it boils down to, can Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense kind of keep pace and continue to roll in this game, or do they kind of hit that wall, that slump that we've seen them hit? Sometimes it feels like it's out of nowhere. Sometimes it's like, yep, this is scheduled. Like this is the Jaguars team that's kind of not going to put up a lot of points this week.
Yeah, I agree with you with this matchup as well. This is a big implication of divisional leader. The Colts lost last week, and the Jaguars able to overcome. I think they played the Titans, not overcome. They just killed them, dominated the Titans, and it was able to go ahead and take the divisional spot, which gives them a divisional lead here in the AFC. Now, the Colts could just take it back this week. They're like, give me that back, little bro. Let me get this win. Let me get that back. But nonetheless, the Jaguars have been firing on another level lately. BTJ seem to be warming back up. Maybe they get it right this time at this back half. But nonetheless, like you said, it's just not enough firepower over there. Give me the Colts to get the win this week with Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Alec Pierre, Tyler Warren. It's just too many options over there.
Too
So give
much.
me the
Yep,
Colts.
absolutely. All right, and then we have the Bengals versus the Bills. A Dub, this Bengals team is a different team with Joe Burrow in that backfield. I mean, they have flipped it night and day. But they go against the Bills that, despite them still having Josh Allen, despite them learning and figuring out ways to win, they're not at the top of their division. Who do you like in this one?
Give me the Bills. Give me the Bills to get this win. They haven't been looking good at all. They've been very much slacking in the wide receiver department. They can't throw the ball down the field, so everybody's just sitting on these short routes. But at the end of the day, it's a tough day when you gotta walk into Buffalo and get a win against the Bills and Superman himself. So I ain't gonna go against it. So give me the Buffalo Bills to get away against the Bengals. It's gonna be a tight game. It's gonna be a good game. But give me the Bengals. Give me the Bills.
And AW, you know what? I'm going to back you up on this one because that weather up there in Buffalo is something different.
It's
And
different.
if the snow starts to fall, this plays right into Buffalo's hands. And you know those fans are going to be crazy enough to be out there screaming with their shirts off. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Bills in this one also. I think Josh Allen and his guys are going to get right. I think this could even be, one of those games where this is where we kind of see, well, this is the Bills at full power, and just really against a good quality opponent. Plus, we've seen, at times the Cincinnati defense is not at all what it has started to be built up to be. But I do think Joe Burrow being back gives him a little bit of confidence. But unfortunately, Superman got to take that confidence and drop it from the top of his 15-story building. So that is how that one will go. Now, finally, I'm just gonna kind of get this one in here. Bears versus Packers, Sunday, 3:25. I don't even know if I have to ask this, folks. Hey, who do you like in this game?
You know, both of these organizations has been playing very good this season. I'm talking about a 9-3 Chicago Bears team versus an 8-3-1 Green Bay Packers team. I'm talking about these are the games that they dream of. This is the matchup that the Bears and the Packers wanted against each other for a very long time. There's a lot on the line. And by a lot, I mean the Bears are the number one team in the NFC right
NFC.
now.
Yep.
They
Yep.
stand at the top of the pinnacles of all pinnacles. And the Green Bay Packers are just one game behind them. And the fact that they have to play them 2 out of the next 3 weeks, give me the goddamn. Hold on. Oh, let me get a
Oh,
little
yeah.
closer.
Yeah. Here
Let
we
me
go.
get a little closer.
Here it's
Let me
good.
get
Here
a
we
little
go.
closer. Let me put the mic on me. There's no mistake, people. Give me the Green Bay Packers to handle their business and get this win at home against the Green Bay Packers and show against the Chicago I keep saying Bulls, Chicago Bears, and show the world how much of a fraud the Bears really is. We don't beat the Lions both games. We don't beat Minnesota. Now we finna go whoop on the Chicago Bears for 2 games in a row and dominate.
Yeah. I think he broke his setup. Man, I was really looking forward to having like a real like nice kind of like sweet moment. I'm gonna go with Green Bay as well. I'm gonna go with Green Bay also. Um, I did pinky promise. So to be completely honest with you guys, I did pinky promise. But I do think the Packers can be a very good team, and this is going to surely be one of their biggest tests all season. In the Bears that sit at the top of the NFC, but at the same time, I think the Packers we've seen throughout the season play up to their competition. They've certainly played down to it, but they play up to the competition. And I don't know if the generational trauma from Aaron Rodgers. Oh, yep, he's gone. I don't know if the generational trauma from Aaron Rodgers is, gone yet. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Actually, genuinely, real quick, right? Now that he's gone, right? This is no longer Manny the host, here. This is Big M. You're listening to Big M right now. Okay? I realize win and get in. I realize I'm down 2 of my key players, more than likely. All right. Am I scared? No. 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 None whatsoever. Winning in. That's what I'm so yeah, I would have to go with the Green Bay Packers in this one, man. I think, they're just like a really exciting team. And I don't think the Bears have gotten over the generational trauma of Aaron Rodgers screaming at them, I still own you. I still own you. So, hey, Ada, welcome back, man. I took the Packers. In this one.
Okay,
Um,
okay, okay. Yeah, you picky promised me. I knew you. Yeah,
yeah,
you good.
no, absolutely. That's why I was like, man, I was really hoping to have this sweet moment. I picked the Packers. You're like, everything like that. Nonetheless, I think this is the first time we've picked the same the entire way through. Shout out to that, man. We're in the Christmas spirit as we get closer and closer to the big jolly day. Hey, Dub, go ahead and send the folks home, please.
Appreciate y'all tuning in for yet another episode here on the Crash Out League TV. We really appreciate y'all following us all the way through to this point. I'm talking about episode 13, baby. Episode 13. Y'all been rocking with us. So stay tuned for what the playoff picture is going to end up being. Who will be the final 7 teams fighting for the Crash Out League trophy and $1,000 pot at the end of the season. It's your host, A-Dub. I'm with my co-host, Manny Boy, and we gonna catch y'all next time.